One. Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs and business professionals, if you're looking for some practical strategies to grow your business, to be successful, and even some personal development, then this episode's for you. Let's get this one on the road. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone, because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. Are you an entrepreneur or business professional looking to take your business to new heights? Do you want practical strategies and advice from someone who has achieved remarkable success in the business world? Well, our guest today is an international speaker, business advisor, and expert in business growth and development. He's not only built and owns thriving 8-figure businesses, but has also trained and coached professionals around the globe. Today, he's here to share his insights and practical solutions to help you overcome challenges, achieve business success, and unlock your full potential. So let's get ready to learn from the incredible Mark Anthony. All right, ladies and gents, I got to give a little caveat. I actually know Mark personally. Him and I took a course together, Billy Gina's marketing course together, and I got to not only be around him for a while, but I got to have lunch with him a couple times and learn about all the cool stuff he's doing. So I'm going to pretend I don't know him for today. We're going to have this conversation from scratch. Mark, welcome to the show, man.
It is great to be here, man. It's great to reconnect with you. Always love our conversations. We go so deep on things, and really looking forward to helping a lot of different people today.
Well, let's do that, man. Let's get into it. Real quick, I gave a background about a little bit of background during the intro, but tell me a little bit about yourself, man. What are some of those peaks, those highlights, the credibility?
Well, whenever I talk about business, I actually talk about business from a point of actually really doing it. When I was 19, I was eating ramen with my first apartment in the back of a garage.
Yum.
And from there, within about 5 years, I had built a business with like zero money being given to me from anybody. And it was a coast to coast business. So basically, when I was in my 20s, I built a really nice 6-figure business. But that gave me some of the tools and structure to, in my 30s, create a 7-figure business. Again, you learn a little bit more as you get a little older, and you get a little bit more beat up. And we could talk about getting beat up too. But I just took all of that and kept systematizing it, which is a whole big thing about, I actually put it into a book, but systematizing it allowed me to stop being an employee in my own businesses and become an actual business owner. And that's something I really want to have people recognize. Stop using the word self-employed. You need to become a business owner. And when I got that message, I wish I got it sooner, that allowed me to start building an 8-figure business. And it's all duplicatable, but building a business is brutal. And, I've lived the brutal parts of it, but I've also been able to learn from that and build some serious businesses. And when you do that, you can have a boatload of fun also. You could just have a great, great time. I was going to put it a little bit differently, but
you can put it however you like, man. That's
how I was going to say it.
Yeah, you can have a shitload of fun, man. That's what it's all about. And tell me, you're in a position right now where you're actually doing that. We were kind of talking about it beforehand. I was like, nah, hold it. Let's talk about it here. What has, building these businesses the way you have, in other words, when I tell my students, it's like, you got to figure out how to make money while you sleep. That's how you're going to be able to do a business that is successful, 7 and 8 figures plus, right? So 100%. What has that been able to afford you? What have you been doing lately?
Okay, so being able to really put systems in place and build a real business, right? Not a job, but an actual business. I just, a couple of highlights over like the last 6 to 12 months. Last weekend, I'm down in the woods of Georgia with a bunch of different friends with the Navy SEAL. He's taking us on like a hike where we're competing against each other, shooting bows and arrows at targets and, jumping into ice plunges. And, he's like, you got to push your comfort zone.
Mm.
So there's things like that. Uh, Prior to that, another time I'm down south, we're renting 911s as part of a Porsche driving experience. Some of us have them, but we have a private instructor and a seat next to each of us on the Porsche race car driving track, and they're showing us how to really get the most out of these cars. But some people want to be shooting bows and arrows and doing ice plunges with Navy SEALs. Other people want to be driving cars fast. One of the biggest things that I got to do was I took my older parents to Italy
Mm.
for a month and allowed them to go back to a location, to the country where their roots are from, and made that happen for them, both with time and resources, right? So you don't want to have a job. You want to be able to, and you don't want to just have stuff either. In my personal opinion, stuff is great, but you want to build your life in a way where you're having experiences at the level you want to have them. And you know, and I've done laser tag in airplanes where you attach lasers to airplanes. We fly up. Actually, it's down near you. Actually, we could meet up and we could even do it together. We both go up. An instructor gets us off the ground, but then it's Top Gun, and it's like laser tag,
What?
like you do with your kids. Only we're shooting lasers at each other, and if I hit you, your plane goes up in smoke. And then we
What? That is
set and do it
cool.
again. So you can have a freaking awesome time. And I bring that up because the stat about the number of 1 in 5 business owners works over 60 hours a week.
Mhm.
You know, and only like 4 out of 10 are even profitable. You got to put your business together in a way that gives you time and gives you money, because that's why you're taking on this adventure to run a business.
Let's talk about
So
that. You got a couple things here, scaling and getting your life back. And I think that's one of those things, getting your life back, that a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that they lost in the first place, right? They got into this thing because they had a dream that they wanted to achieve, whether it was financial, whether it was retiring their parents or going laser tag on a plane. Like, they had these dreams that they wanted to achieve, and then they get stuck in the minutia of becoming self-employed, of owning that business. You have the 70% rule, the big six. Tell me about the 70% rule. What does that mean for you?
okay, that was a game changer. When I was good at a lot of things, right? That's why you get into starting a business, because you probably think you're better at you know the employer that you had before you went out on your own. You had some idea. So I'll use an example of the 70% rule. When I had my first business, a publishing business, I was really good at going out there and finding advertisers. And I could meet with 10 and I would close 9 out of 10 of them.
Hmm.
Only problem was, with everything else I was doing, the most I could ever get to was maybe 10 people in a week. So the most I'd ever close is 9 sales. So I figured out, I put in these processes where what happened was I trained other people how to sell advertising the way I did. So, but they could never close 9 out of 10. But I could get them to close 7 out of 10. That's
Hmm.
70%, or 6 out of 10, around 70% of what I was doing. The only difference was then I hired 10 reps to do it. So all of a sudden I was getting 60 and 70 sales a week coming in instead of
9.
9 sales a week coming in. So, and then I said, wait a minute, that worked. Maybe I knew how to do something else really good, like laying out the magazines. Maybe I did it a little bit more creatively than somebody else. But then I said, I could teach someone the format of how to do this. And it was really good, just not maybe exactly the way I did it. But again, they did it 70% as well as me. And you arrived when the people who are doing it 70% as well as you, because they're doing it all the time, guess what happens?
They
The
get to
ones
8
who
and
are
9.
really good, you know it. They
Yeah.
do it better than you do. The
Yeah.
phone rings and you're like, I don't know how to answer this as well as you do. You take the call. And so the 70% rule can really set you free, but you got to start with that expectation. And then it works to where they do it even better than you do.
Yeah, because that entrepreneur getting started, when you bring somebody on, you almost expect them to be your clone. You expect them to do as well as you are, and then you get frustrated when they make mistakes, when they're not at the level that you are, and you have to let that go. The 70% rule, I think, has to do more with the entrepreneur understanding that nobody who you bring on cares about your business or will work as hard on your business than you will, and you have to be okay with that. That's the 70% rule. You're going to get them to 70%, and that's a success. That's a win, and you can move forward and let them grow from there. What about the big six? Tell me about that.
Big six. You combine these together and you really start getting some great momentum. So the big six is, look, if I asked an entrepreneur, list everything you need to do this week that's really important. I tell you, every one of us has a to-do list that's like 50 things or more long. So I
And
say,
it's never
well,
ending.
how would it be? How would it be if you got 44 of them done or six? What would be better?
Well, 44.
Everyone says 44, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. If you actually really planned out the list and put it in a priority order, and you had the top six were the ones that were really going to get you the results. Should you do the top six to get you all the results or the other 44 things? And people are like, oh, I got to get these other things done. And I just look at them like, what are you, nuts? You're telling me that like you're happy that you got items 20 to 40 on the list done, but you didn't get the most important stuff done? If
That's where we're
you can only
suffering,
get
right?
a little bit done, get the most important stuff.
That's where we're suffering, I think, is we as entrepreneurs are busy but not productive. And what you're trying to say here with the big six is, look, the word prioritize. Prior to doing everything else, you need to do these things, because these things are the things that move the needle. These are the big six. These are the things that are going to get you from point A to point B the quickest. Everything else, yeah, you got to do, but they don't move the needle like these things are. Am I hearing you correctly?
Completely. Then the next question you ask folks is, all right, I'll tell you what, something's not going to get done. Okay, look, we never get the 50 things done. And if you did, there's 50 more that are like right behind it. So
Yep.
let's establish we're not going to get something done. So is it that you didn't get your website finished? That you didn't call the six biggest prospects on your list? Oh, I forgot because I was checking email.
Mm.
I forgot or I didn't get to it because I was doing some other BS test. Like, no, something's not going to get done. So you tell me, choose what's harder, not getting the most important stuff done or not getting the little stuff done. Choose your freaking hard.
Cut out your own excuses. You're making them up. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the excuses you make why you were doing one over the other. It's the priority. Get the thing that you eat, that frog, right? Who moved my cheese? Like all the same types of concepts. The one thing, get it done. What about the quarter two rule? What's that?
So you start figuring out that there's other people. Maybe you get an assistant. Maybe you have 10 people working for you now. So all of a sudden, I started not being as busy with all the tasks that I now had people in place doing. But what happened is I was busy with like, it's like having like 10 kids, like, dad, help me with this, dad, help me with that.
Mhm.
They're continually tugging at you. So what I did is I always wanted to be there to support my people and grow and develop them. But I said, you know what? Because I'd start doing something for a minute and then like an interruption. I'd get back to doing something for 5 minutes, the next person. I said, everybody, any question you want answered to, ask me at a quarter to the hour.
Mm.
11:45 to 12, 2:45 to 3, 4:45 to 4. For 45 minutes, I'm not going to bother you. For 45 minutes, you're not going to bother me. And then as that was coming, I was expecting to get interrupted. You know what happened? All of a sudden, they started figuring stuff out themselves.
Mm.
If it was 11:10, all they had to do was wait 35 minutes. I started coming out of my office because no one was asking many questions. Does anybody have anything? Oh no, we figured it out. So you have the discipline to put that in, and you start to get the discipline to set yourself free.
Yes, and it's literally you're training other people to value your time and to look for the answers. Look, we live in the YouTube University era. The answer to a lot of your questions is literally a couple Google searches away, or if you're even smarter these days, you're using ChatGPT to get the answer that you're
Yeah,
looking for, right?
exactly.
So they don't need to go to Mark all the time, and that's what you've allowed them to do. You've given them the flexibility to come to you, but only during this time gap. So until then, you got to go look for the solution. I love that quarter two rule. I
What did
might use
mom
that in
do?
my
Like you
classroom.
had a question, mom, like, Mom, how do I spell entrepreneur? What would she say? She probably couldn't spell that one, but it's but she'd say, look it up,
Yeah.
right? We're making them do it. And I'll throw in one extra one. Another one is, as you want to keep developing people more and more, I started to empower everybody that if they could make the question go away that a client or a customer or someone might have, and they could do it for $25 or less, everybody was entitled to solve the problem for $25 or less. Other people who are more experienced or higher up, they could just solve it for $500, or $1,000, depending on who they were, without ever asking me what my opinion was about it.
Mm.
I was free. They felt great. They felt in control. The customer always felt great. So figure out like some amount. Like, I worked with a cafe the other day, last week. And when they had customer service issues, I'm like, you're calling the owner? I said, dude, if all your people had to do was give someone a $5 muffin and a smile, why are you even being called about this? It made
Hmm.
everybody crazy. So again, just figure out ways to empower your team.
Give them the opportunity to excel, right? Again, they're going to make mistakes. People are going to need clarity. But if you give them the ability to make the change or to improve the process without fear of being ridiculed or fired, that gives them a lot of flexibility to be as creative as they can be in places that you wouldn't even see a problem arising anyways, because they're doing the daily do, right? So let's talk about goals next. Clarity. I know I personally struggle with this one quite often. I say this over and over again. I have a hard time envisioning myself 10 years down the road, something where I want this, my rich life, full design, right? But I can picture something maybe 3 months down the road. And I always like to think of the whole Billie Jean experience we had. When I remember week one when he said, top person's going to be on this stage at Petco Park. And I was like, I knew it. And I knew it right then and there that I was going to be able to do that. I completely forgot that he was doing it, but like almost in the mornings on my runs, I would be thinking about it constantly. I could see myself. I knew what I was going to say. I could visualize myself, and then it became a reality. But I do struggle with doing clarity in the long term. So when you talk about the power of clarity, you talk about visualization. How do you help people kind of do those things so they can visualize and then attain those things that they're trying to work towards?
There's a lot to that, but just also, not that I'm competitive, but you did beat me out on that a bunch of different weeks. But but you made me better to do that, and I hope I pushed you to do a little better on that too.
Absolutely.
And so that's a piece too. When you want to set up these goals, put yourself around like 5 other people or 10 other people that are playing big. Because if you're around someone else that's playing, they're going to push you to
Mhm.
play bigger, to think differently, to figure things out at a higher scale. So part of creating this clarity is, who do you really want to be around, and who do you need to be around to get to this higher level that you're saying you want to attain. So that's one part of getting the clarity. The other piece of the clarity I always find people leave out is, what do you want to get from the goal? Okay.
Mm.
So if you have the money and you have the time, yeah, people always say, oh, I want the fancy car. I want to do some cool first class luxury trip. But is it the first class luxury trip that you want? Or is it that you want to have this amazing experience that you're going to share with your children, and or other family members, and then you're going to teach them about what's possible, and you're going to show them the world in a way that you never saw it. But more so, you're going to just be taking these great candid family photos together, and the closeness. So if you start figuring that out, for some people, they have all the fancy trappings, but it becomes a trap of fancy stuff, and they're
Mm.
not free to be able to enjoy it with who they want. So figure out not just the surface part of your goal, but what emotionally it's really going to give you. Really develop that type of clarity of, do you want $10 million dollars and no time? Or do you want $3 million, dollars, just picking some numbers, and lots of time,
Mhm.
right? So, or do you want to have, $10 million dollars and you got to be there 80 hours a week with an ulcer, or you want to be putting in 10 hours a week and you're pretty much doing anything you ever wanted to do. Uh, no right or wrong answer, but you got to have the clarity of what it's going to do for you.
Yeah, that's a big difference. I like that because there's a lot of people. Actually, Billy was one that was talking about this week. He, if you didn't see, he was on the floor of the Lakers game, right? And
Yep.
he also had a birthday the other day, earlier this month, and he had like some Renaissance thing at his place or whatever. And he was talking about it in class, and he said, "Look, one of the things that money has allowed me to do is to provide experiences for my friends and family that they never would have had otherwise." And I love that because that's kind of the clarity that you kind of need beyond the dollars. The dollars are absolutely amazing. The time is even great, but having the dollars and the time by yourself sucks. Like it's not gonna be great that way. So let me ask you about courage, because I think a lot of times you're able to visualize some stuff, maybe some things you want, but you don't have the courage to take some of those necessary steps, whether it's putting yourself behind a camera, whether it's standing up on a stage, whether it's something as simple as going to a networking event and talking about what it is that you do. What is the relevance of courage for you?
Okay. So look, it's brutal. It's hard running a business. There's constantly things you're going to be learning and being pressured with. And look, it just beats you up sometimes. Okay. So when we think about courage, we really got to look at, what is it that we're willing to put in? But everyone says they're going to be courageous. So what I want people to realize is you need to have something to grab that lets you know that you are good enough to push through. So whenever I will do one-on-one coaching with people, I'll do group coaching with people, and one of the things I make people list is, where did you crush it? Where were you in a really pressure oriented, hard situation, and you just had the courage to keep pushing and you made it work. And so I was coaching a young guy who had a great startup. He went from zero to 1% income in his first year. And I mean, he's exceptional in being able to do that. And one of the things I got him to keep anchoring to was when he was in high school, he made the varsity hockey team.
Mm.
He was the smallest kid on the team as a freshman, but you know, but he was on the bench and learning from the bigger, better people around him. And then he became actually the captain a couple of years later. He scored the winning playoff goal. It's like a freaking Disney movie. But
Mighty Ducks, baby.
yeah, it was him, and he's down in Florida too, I think, which is where the Ducks are too. But it was so funny, and he, whenever he was stuck, I got him to talk and recognize, how scared were you when you got on as a freshman onto a varsity team and everyone was bigger and stronger? And he's like, I was able to handle it. I got in their face. I stood up to it. And I said, what did that feel like? What did you tell yourself? What did you think to be able to get up in the face of someone who at that age is a big difference in the ages?
Oh yeah.
And he gave me the answers. And I was like, so you clearly have the balls, you clearly have the courage, you know how to harness it, go and do it.
Mm.
And so people got to recognize they actually do have the courage, but they just got to remember where they really were using it in the past, and then anchor to that and apply it. Because we get scared on how to use AI tools. We get scared on how to put together social media ads. We get scared to speak in public. You just got to remember you've been scared a lot of time. And every single time you were scared, it never killed you.
That's right. That's right. You're right. You're absolutely right. At the end of the day, who was it? George Lopez is a comedian, but did you die though? Right? Did you die
Right.
though? Like it didn't matter what happened. You're still here having a conversation. It might have freaked you out. You might have, it might have been the worst experience ever, but you survived it. And whatever you're gonna take on right now is probably not as bad as that. What about some of these? We got about 5 more minutes. So some of these brutal challenges that small business owners face. I think there's always a ton, but some that are more specific. That again, priority can get them to move from where they are today to where they want to go. What are some of these brutal challenges that you have?
There's we got 20 minutes of the list, but let's keep it right real tight. Uh, Most of them never are profitable. One in five, five are going. Half of them, I think, are actually going out of business within 5 years. So you're constantly being beat up by the need to feed the machine, is what I like to call it. You need money coming in to cover the expenses. You need money coming in to cover your own life. So you need to get sales. So if I was to say, in my book Join a Seven Figure Club, I talk about 7 key pillars. And those 7 pillars are: first, you got to get that clarity on your goals. Okay. Then you got to develop a real sense of clarity on what you're accountable to. Like, what are the stats? What's going to drive your result? Not just the result, but like if it's sales, which we all need, what you need to know is not what your sales number is. You need to know what drives sales: appointments, cold calls, number of leads coming in. If you know all those things, then you can basically predict if sales is going to come in. We'll cover that in great detail. It's probably the most important thing to do. Then you start making sales. And I put sales ahead of even marketing, because in the beginning, you got to be able to get sales without spending any money.
Mhm.
Then you got to learn how to market without spending any money. When you're doing each of those things successfully, then you could start buying your social media ads and so forth. Then you have great customer service. That's a secret sauce. Then you start learning more skills, negotiating, AI, social media. And when you got all that working, you absolutely got to keep defining every one of these skills as a recipe, as a process that will allow you to keep duplicating yourself, and then you start to scale. So those are the 7 pillars that will allow you to be one of the 1 in 10, only 1 in 10 gets to 7 figures. You do that, and you are someone who is joining the 7 figure club, which is exactly why I called the book Join the 7 Figure Club. And by the way, I will be even running basically giving the book away for free, like for 99 cents if you get the Kindle, because I just want people to have this information. I've built the businesses before. I just want other people to do it. That's my quest now. That's my next big thing, is helping other people light it up also.
Yeah, I love how you threw sales on top of marketing before marketing, because at the end of the day, that is what's going to help or make or break your business, right? You have to go out and you have to make the sales. That is the blood of your business. Without that, you don't really have a business. And I've been there. I've been there time and time again with different businesses that I've had, where you're just like you described, you're barely making enough to cover your expenses. And the issue I think that a lot of business owners have when they're in that situation is the burnout that happens, because you're just spinning your wheels to just stay afloat. And eventually you like, if you're paddling in water, eventually you're going to get tired and you're going to stop paddling, unless you're able to build yourself a boat. Then you can freaking relax a little bit and start enjoying the weather, start rowing in a direction that you want to go in. But as long as you're doggy paddling right there, you're going to be stuck. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck, because they're just keeping their head above water. So when it comes to that sales game, when they join the 7-figure club, when they want to find out more about what you do so they can increase their sales and do all the things that we talked about on today's show. I know you said it just a little while ago, but one more time, how do we get a hold of you? What can we find this information? How can we join the 7-figure club?
Cool. It's like on Amazon, join the 7-figure club. That's going to be a way for you just to get the book. That'll give you a really great blueprint. Reach out to me on my website, jointhesevenfigureclub.com. On there, I will be more than happy to give you so much additional resource information. And it's free. You know, a lot of people are always trying to hit you up to sell you something, and I can work with people one-on-one or in groups, but I just want to give this info to people. Why? Because 86% of small businesses never make more than $100,000 as a salary. It's like, no, be part of the 7-figure club. Make good things happen. You can do it. I did it starting at 19. Other people, you're probably older than 19 if you're listening here. You're smarter than I was. Make it happen for yourself. But again, there's resources that can help you do it.
Mark, always a great conversation. Everything from now you got me thinking about playing laser tag in the sky, man. That would be freaking phenomenal to do. But also just to, like, as an inspiration, right? To be able to take your parents to for a month back to the home country where they can kind of have those memories, to have the resources to do those types of things, to travel the world. It's exactly why we as entrepreneurs got into this space in the first place. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you just from, you got 30 minutes of Mark. I've gotten, hours with him and got to spend a lot of time with him. There's a lot of resources there. You guys just got a little scrape off the top there just to kind of intro some topics. So if you guys are interested in joining the 7-figure club and learning a little bit more about that, make sure you go to the website, scrolling across the bottom. Easy to remember, by the way. URLs are on point right here for this one. Is join the 7-figure club, and that's the number 7. Join the 7figureclub.com. Mark, thank you very much for coming on the program, man. Hey, I'm curious. So when we took that Billie Jean course, I literally redesigned our entire funnel. I'm redesigning it right now. Actually, I have a new one that's going to be launching here very soon. What do you think of everything that I put together for the show? Almost all of it I've learned when we were taking the course together.
I love your stuff, and you are the perfect example. You won. You deserve to win. I say that you took the tools, you absolutely applied it. I mean, it's visual, it's fun, it's it's playful, it's on point on a message. You focus on who you want to help. I mean, you're figuring all different ways to just leverage to the next step. And I've seen you really evolve over the last couple of years too. So you keep getting better all the time. And that's just one of the things I respect about you so much.
Appreciate it, Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, join the 7-figure club. Get your life back. Own that time. Do those things that you want to do. With a little bit of a kick in the butt, you're going to get there. All the information, like you said, this Kindle's 99 cents for the Kindle. Join the 7-figure club. Mark, thank you very much for being on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz